Hey there, Bitcash crew. ADP back here with you once again for another altcoin and also ICO review. So we got some pretty cool stuff lined up. As you can see from the screen behind me, there's not a great deal of movement or like sort of big action in the market today. It's kind of a down day, and it has been down for a little while now, at least across some of the major currencies and some of the sort of intermediate ones as well. However, we've got a pretty cool little ICO to look at, which I think is going to have some pretty cool effects. And I don't think it's going to be the most unique ICO, but it's certainly moving in the right direction, and more like this are better for everybody. And yeah, we've got a cool altcoin to look out as well, which sort of just adds to the repertoire of go to altcoins in the market. So we'll kick off the show, and yeah, let's just get stuck into it. Excellent. So we're going to kick off the show with our altcoin for today, which is called Verge. Now, you may have heard of Verge because it's been out for a while, but I wanted to cover it today because it's been a pretty big mover and shaker over the last few days, and there's a couple of interesting reasons why it should be and maybe why it shouldn't be. So I just want to talk a little bit about what it does, and this isn't necessarily a recommendation to buy it, but just to talk about one that I think will continue to be sort of a market presence, if you like. So a bit about Verge. So I'm just going to start off by reading sort of their mission statement, if you like, because it does put a bow on sort of like the general idea of what they're about. So Verge is a cryptocurrency designed for people and for everyday use. It improves upon the original Bitcoin blockchain and aims to fulfill its initial purpose of providing individuals and businesses with a fast, efficient, and decentralized way of making direct transactions while maintaining your privacy. So, that's a very long way of saying it's a cryptocurrency. You know, we've covered so many now altcoins and ICOs here that have very specific functions. You know, they pertain to a very specific industry or function within an industry, like it's like a marketing coin or you know, whatever it is. With this one, it basically gets back to just that peer-to-peer idea. If you read the original white paper that was written in 2009, you know, about Bitcoin, it sort of just goes back to that of like this idea of businesses and individuals being able to just buy and sell and complete transactions. So, you know, that's fine, and I certainly like that. The few reasons I wanted to talk about it today was, one, it's been a big mover and shaker. Two, just a couple little points. Number one, now, most of you who know crypto will know a bit about Bitcoin because that's sort of where we all came from. It was sort of the inception of this movement. Now, Bitcoin has a maximum of 21 million coins, which is pretty interesting because what that does is it creates scarcity. So scarcity is this really simple idea that if you have a limited supply of something, that usually, depending on circumstances, prices will continue to rise over a long enough time period. Now, obviously, Bitcoin's down at the moment. You know, it's under 8,000, but that's an ebb and flow of a marketplace. If you think of something like gold, you know, that continues to appreciate in value if you look at sort of like a 10-year block because there's a limited supply. You know, but if you think of something like, even though there is a limited supply, but the way we think of it, like water, you know, if you're pretty much anywhere in the Western world, you can buy a bottle of water for about $1 because there's so much of it. So we don't think of it in the same way of sort of the scarcity model as we would for gold. Now, excuse me, Verge, as I said, Bitcoin's got 21 million. Verge has 16.5 billion coins that can be, and it's the same principle with the algorithm where you run, it's actually 5 algorithms with this coin you run, and you can get currency. But 16.5 billion, you know, I think that will probably keep it quite cheap for at least a long time relative to some of the other altcoins, certainly something like Bitcoin, because there's just so many of them. So that is interesting. I don't know if that's going to help or hinder it in the future. It certainly won't encourage a good group of investors because they won't think of like, you know, the larger gains the same way, because the idea is like if something costs $1 and it goes to, say, you know, $1.50, that's a great gain. But you know, with Bitcoin, you know, it went from 900 to 19,000 in a year, and I think this is sort of like the sort of the point that people are thinking in their minds of what cryptos are going to do. Now with this one, because there's so many of them, you know, at the moment, if it's trading at a few cents and it goes to $1, that's a huge gain, and you should be excited about that. But to convince someone that that's how they should think about, you know, cryptocurrency and investing, I think it's going to be a little bit hard. Something else which is interesting, and this is certainly an improvement on Bitcoin. It's not necessarily an improvement on things like Raiden or Ripple, which we've covered here on the show. Transaction time is about 5 to 10 seconds, so not too bad. There's a number of altcoins that we respect that sort of fall into that range, and you can complete about 100 transactions per second. But we've covered things like I said, Raiden, Ripple. I think Raiden's the fastest from memory. It's about 100,000 per second, which is sort of flirting in the area of like a Visa and a MasterCard. So that's really great because that's when, you know, our altcoins and our cryptocurrencies are really flirting with the big boys and sort of the current players in the market. So I really like that. With Verge, it's not quite at that level. It doesn't mean it's not going to improve. Its software is open source, so it's sort of calling on the marketplace for people to go and improve it. It does feel like one of those sort of people's coins. But yeah, the main reason I wanted to bring it to you today was because it has been a mover and shaker. Now, it's died off a bit now, but yeah, it's still moved over 7.5% in the last 24 hours. That's a big move, guys and gals. And just think to yourself for a second, you know, it's at about 4 US cents now. If you think like if you bought now a coin like this and it went to $1, you have to picture in your head what kind of return that is. And this is not a recommendation for a buy, but this is where we get those market swings, you know, that are really important, and why we keep an eye on these coins, especially the ones that are big movers and shakers for the day, because there's still potential there. And with this one, because it's sort of just the simple basic premise of what people expect a cryptocurrency to be, if enough people start buying into it, it's just going to increase the value. It's that simple, you know. The value of it will increase, and then, you know, people can make a bunch of cash. So it's one to keep an eye on. It is quite basic. It doesn't have a targeted function, but I would just keep this one on the back burner and just keep an eye on CoinMarketCap and your other sites that you're viewing, just to see where it goes in the future. Cool, so that is Verge. Pressing on to our ICO. Now, this one got me pretty damn excited. The ICO for today is called Transcrypt. Now, with Transcrypt, I'm going to give you a breakdown of sort of what it aims to do. It releases in about 6 days, I think 6.5 days now. Excuse me, so it's right around the corner. What they're aiming to do, and, you know, where I think it could be successful, and maybe some of its drawbacks as well. We'll cover a bit of that. Let me just get my notes up here. Cool. So obviously that's our ICO, as I've already said. So with the world of crypto, actually I'll take a step backwards. So obviously, you know, Richie and I come from the world of Forex, which is you're buying and selling fiat currency. So you always have to sell or buy one into the other. This is completely different, okay, in the world of crypto, because, you know, we're coming from a place where, actually, I just got my wires crossed. In the world of Forex, you are always buying and selling one into another. Got that right. The step I skipped was one thing that gives the US dollar so much strength is pretty much any transaction you do in the world, the US dollar is still the intermediary. So even if I'm selling, say, Australian dollars into like the Swiss franc or into the euro or whatever, it gets converted into the US dollar and then back into the next currency. And people don't know this, but like if you're in New York and you want to buy, say, a laptop from Tokyo, the same thing happens, right? Actually, that's a bad example because in New York you're using US dollars anywhere. Picture you're in Paris and you want to buy, excuse me, the same laptop from Tokyo. Well, you just think, well, in Paris I'm using euros and in Tokyo I'm using yen. Well, yeah, but the US dollar is your intermediary. So pretty much all transactions in the world get converted to the US dollar and then into the next currency. In the world of crypto, we're cutting out that middleman, you know, and that's a good thing. You know, it's just this whole idea of like peer-to-peer, but it gets a bit difficult. So if you have like Ethereum and then you want to convert it into whatever else, you know, Ripple or Raiden or anything else we're looking at, it depends on what currencies you're using. You know, sometimes two currencies won't talk to each other properly. Sometimes you need a very specific wallet or some other add-on to make that transaction. And Transcrypt seeks to sort of just, you know, obliterate all those problems, right? So the idea is, no matter what two cryptos you'd have, or even if you have fiat, this little application will be able to transfer from one currency to another anytime, anywhere in the world. So, excuse me, ambitious, yeah, I know, but exciting as well. So I think this is pretty good. Now, a couple of points about its predecessors and where it seeks to sort of improve on them. So as I said before, you usually need like a special platform to complete these transactions because of the way that two cryptocurrencies or a cryptocurrency and a fiat may talk or may not talk to each other becomes a bit of an issue. The next issue is it can take from 12 to 24 hours to complete one of these transactions based upon whatever technologies you're using because they're not talking to each other so well. So that's not good. And the other thing is these transactions can be expensive, you know, and that's one of the drawbacks. And if you watch previous episodes of the show, I've covered many altcoins, and I always make a point of making a point. Oh, try that one on for size. If if the transactions with a particular currency are free, because I think that's a big draw card in just mentally for people. Even if you go to a bank, you're still going to pay a few dollars a month in bank fees, and people don't like that. It's the whole thing of like, if you buy excuse me, $500 worth of something online and it's $10 for shipping, you go, why is the $10 for shipping there? So with this one, it seeks to sort of mitigate some of those costs, because it can be expensive to sort of buy and sell and transfer currency. So this brings down the cost of that. So it's based on the Telegram platform, which is good, because then basically what you have is just a messaging app, right? And then in the app, you can basically just open a dialogue with a friend, or you can with a business, and then you can bring up the history of your chat with that person or that organization, and then there's a window where you basically just click send money. You go to your wallet, and then you click on the amount you want to send, and then boom, you're done and dusted. So that's pretty exciting, because they make it sound very, very easy. Now, as I said, it's still 6 days before launch, so we're just looking at what they're saying they're going to do, and then we'll see what they actually do next week. So where are we? Cool. So yeah, as I said, multi-currency wallet, that's really the way to sort of view what they're doing here, because we've got all these cryptos and fiat currencies, which is really exciting, just in the one location. And we have these quick, or they say instant. I'm saying quick because I just want to see how this functions before I say this is the golden child. But they say the instant cross-border transactions, especially with fiat. And yeah, what they're saying also is they'll be able to link payments to a linked plastic or virtual card. And that's amazing, because if you have multiple currencies in your wallet, and you want to access maybe a fiat bank account as well, and you can do all of that on one card, that's pretty amazing. Now, as I said, excuse me, before we started reviewing this coin, I've read about other ones that seek to do something similar. Okay, so this isn't the first time someone's floated this idea. It won't be the last. There will probably be competition on this idea of how to run this thing. No problem, okay? Competition is good for the marketplace, and it should improve the technology, because this is where the market has to go eventually. So, if Transcrypt is one of the first ones out of the gate, and it does well in 2018, and by 2019 we have like the best ever of this, then I'm happy with that. And then, well, maybe not the best ever. It'll probably keep continuing to improve as time goes on. But yeah, I think this is a very positive thing. I am excited about this one. It does launch in about a week. I will be keeping an eye on it. But yeah, as far as like any sort of block, I always have the same reservation about this. It's like, how quickly will people buy into this idea? And with this one, it's very practical, certainly for people who travel, but I think it's just practical for the average human. The thing of like, let's say for instance that I just want to send like a wedding gift, right? Well, I can just send it through cryptocurrency now. And, I've got family all over the world, and let's say it's like, so-and-so's getting married, and it's like, well, they're redoing their house. Well, let me just buy them a furniture set. I can just send them some crypto. So, like, this has great effects across the world. But then trying to convince my cousin to buy cryptocurrency or to get the wallet, that may be the hard part. So, like, that's the, excuse me. The thing with this is like, educating the public, making them understand how these things work, how it can work in their benefit. And I think that's sort of the duty, if you like, or at least the obligation from a business model for a lot of these altcoins and ICOs in the future. So anyway, that's my piece on Transcrypt. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. I suggest you do as well. And also keep your ear to the ground about other ones that perform the same or similar function in the future, because I do feel that this sort of model is going to be really good for the whole world, and certainly the world of crypto. So I think that's really good. Cool. So that does it for me for today, guys and gals. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, hit us in the comments below. Hit that like, subscribe button. Obviously, you can hit us on Facebook and the Twitter. There's always a lot of sort of chatter going on over there and good conversations. And yeah, until next time, I love being here. I'll be back on Thursday to review another altcoin and ICO. But until next time, stay safe, stay well. Good luck on the charts if you're doing your Forex, and good luck on the charts if you're doing your crypto. I will see you very soon. Adios.